Hello coaches, in this week's video we're going to cover Big 12 Sportsmanship Policy. The essential elements of character building and ethics in sport are embodied in the concept of sportsmanship in 6 core principles: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and good citizenship. The membership institutions place great importance on the principles of sportsmanship and the ideal of pursuing victory with honor in intercollegiate athletics. Participation in athletics, including as a spectator, is a privilege and not a right. All those associated with conference athletic programs, including university personnel as well as fans, have responsibility to conduct themselves consistent with the principles of sportsmanship. The conference adopts the following minimum standards of responsibility. Member institutions have the responsibility to take all reasonable steps to ensure that all university employees, students, and others in attendance at athletic events conduct themselves in a dignified manner and exhibit respect and courtesy towards game officials, other institutions, and their employees, students, including student athletes, and fans. The member institutions athletic director shall have the responsibility to effectively communicate to all athletic department staff, coaches, and student athletes the basic principles of sportsmanship and standards for conduct. It must be clear that concerns about conference programs such as officiating and about other member institutions must be addressed within the conference's governance structure and not in a public forum. The member institution's athletic director shall have responsibility to take reasonable steps to create an environment that is fair and safe for visiting teams and officials. The AD and his or her designee must contact the visiting coach of a spectator sport to address any issue and identify the game manager who can respond to concerns during the contest and the location of the individual during the contest. Each institution must arrange its seating at spectator events so as to emphasize sportsmanship and minimize harassment of the visiting team. Member institutions shall also have a protocol that ensures the protection of all participants and related personnel, including safely escorting teams, coaches, officials, and administrative staffs off the playing surface, particularly in the event of a post-game celebration, for example, court or field storming. Coaches are expected to be role models and have the greatest influence over the young people in their programs and must continually emphasize the need for sportsmanship. Coaches have responsibility to control the behavior of their student athletes and staff members to ensure they are demonstrating respect for their opponents, the game officials, and the game itself. Coaches shall remain in their designated areas during a contest and refrain from behavior with the purpose of inciting the crowd towards negative conduct. The commissioner shall have responsibility to promote and enforce these principles and standards of conduct in connection with all athletic events involving a member institution, including competition against non-conference institutions. The commissioner shall have broad authority to interpret the standards, review disciplinary actions taken by member institutions, and further penalize those deemed to have violated the standards. Violations of this rule requiring actions by the commissioner are verbal or physical abuse, comments about officiating, comments about other members, court and field storming, and then other misconduct. When a member institution has reason to believe that a violation has occurred, it shall be reported immediately to the commissioner. Written communication between the conference and the involved institution shall include copies to the president or chancellor and FAR. After the commissioner becomes aware of a possible violation of these rules, he or she or a designated conference staff member will gather all information available for review of the matter. If the commissioner concludes that a violation occurred, a report will be provided to the ADs of the institutions involved, which will set forth the commissioner's finding and penalty, if any, to be imposed. After the receipt of the commissioner's report, the ADs of the involved institutions shall, within 24 hours of the receipt of the report, submit a response to the commissioner indicating the institution's position on the matter. Within 24 hours of the receipt of the institution's response, The Commissioner will send his final report to the ADs of the involved institutions. The institutions will have 24 hours after receipt of the Commissioner's final decision to indicate in writing to the Commissioner whether it will appeal his or her decision under the provisions. The penalties that may be imposed by the Commissioner for violation of the standards may include, but are not limited to, private and public reprimand, institutional fines, and suspension from practice and/or competition. Only the President or the Chancellor of a member institution may submit an appeal on behalf of the institution or individual affected by the final disciplinary action of the Commissioner involving a suspension from competition or fine or forfeiture of a game. In all other cases, the Commissioner's decision shall be final. An appeal must be submitted in writing to the Commissioner within 24 hours after receiving the final decision. The Board of Directors or its designated committee shall be the body to consider the appeal and shall do so as expeditiously as possible. The Board may increase or decrease any penalty imposed by the Commissioner.